You will, I mean, all of you will go your separate ways after the class is over with, after the program's over with, but you will stay connected. You should stay connected. You're a strong group. And I would hope that somebody would take the initiative to try to, ever so often, y'all need to just Zoom, just to spend 30 minutes with each other and start, but stay connected. You're a strong group, and you have connected so well over the over the course of this program. And I'm very, Dr. Revis and I have talked about that several times, just how impressed we are. Look at Melissa. Yeah, I like it, Melissa. But anyway.
Thank you. My nephew bought it from a quarter machine for me.
Quarter machine. But anyway, thank y'all for making it fun and interesting. We're just about at the end, and honestly, I don't always say this, Dr. Revis, but I'm going to miss this group. Y'all have made the summer fun. It's just, I've enjoyed just our dialogue. I've enjoyed the communication. I wish it, this is a group that I would have loved to have had for the whole 15, 16 week semester. But it's been fun, and I'm glad that Dr. Revis and I have had the opportunity to meet and work with you as you're bringing closure to this part of your lives, and determining and figuring out what the next steps are going to be. I know this past week, you have learned, all of you have learned. I'm to the point with my messages to you. I just say what I mean, and I mean what I say. But guess what? It worked. I called Dr. Revis the next morning after I sent that last email out. I said, Dr. Revis sent me a message. She says, you must have scared the poomy out of them. She said, I am getting stuff left and right. I mean, kudos to all of you, everybody with your work for me. And I've talked with Dr. Revis, and I think she'll speak to that in a minute. But for me, every single one of you are at least where you need to be, and most of you are way beyond that. 9 out of 14 have successfully turned in the PSYOP, and all 9 have gotten 4s on it, Dr. Revis. So I'm counting on the 5 that's left. The pressure's on. We're counting on that. I want all 4s out of this group, and I've got to say the the one that I guess I have pushed the hardest, and I'm proud of her, and I'm just going to call her out, Rachel. I'm so proud of you. You have been a trooper. You have worked. I mean, you had to work backwards and pull yourself up by the bootstraps, but you've done it. You've done it, and I'm proud of you. You told me what you were going to do the weekend, and you stood by your word. Now, I can tell when y'all don't go to church, too, because I know what time this work's submitted. So if you don't go to church, I know you didn't go to church. I graded before I went to church, and I graded when I came home from church. But anyway, thank you for adhering to what I ask of you, and I have to say you've done it well. I've been very, very pleased with the results of what you did. You turned it around, and I can't say enough about thank you for that. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. Well, let me go ahead and do that. Dr. Revis, while I'm doing that, just go ahead and speak to him for just a second. I'm going to pull up Bob.
Okay, so I am pleased to share with you that 5 of you, and I hope I'm not missing anyone, Joshua Justice, Melissa, Hannah, and Tracy White, and Joshua Rodriguez. You guys have finished all of your competency folio, and you are ready to upload that into your DRF folio. I will let you know when you're ready to do that. And don't forget, on your left-hand side of your course shell, there is a button you click that tells you how to upload and move over that competency folio to your DRF folio. 4 of you have completed all of your internship logs. 4 of you have completed all your, 7 of you have completed your School of Ed dispositions. Guys, this is a good time. If you know one evening or early morning or sometime when you feel like you don't want to do much, go in and do your School of Ed dispositions. Okay? And remember, it's just a self-assessment and you don't have to submit anything unless you mark yourself in that highest category. And then we have 7 of you who have finished your competency analysis. Again, that's a self-assessment that you go through and do as related to your competency, your 21 competencies. And then 4 of you have completed your completer survey. And that's your survey that you request comments or send to Dr. Lamb. So don't send that to me. Make sure you send that to Dr. Lamb. Now, as I was in task stream just a few minutes ago, I was looking back, 601, 602, 603, so on and so forth. A few of you have missed your dispositions in 1 or more semesters. So be sure you've got to have them all done. They're very quick and easy to do, but go back and just check yourself and make sure that you've done everything for all 5 semesters. But I'm very pleased with the work that's coming in. Don't let yourself get caught on those competencies, because it can kind of get huge if you are not working on them a little bit as you go. Please remember, if you go in and you upload, let's say 3 artifacts tonight after class, only request comments on those 3 artifacts. If you don't, then I have to go in and open up every one of your artifacts and say NA, because it won't let us, then it's going to always show that there's something in there to grade. So only request comments on the ones you upload. Okay. Other than that, you guys are doing a great job finishing up here. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of this group. It's been fun. I just have to ask this one question. Did you guys do all this, the faces and the hats and the beards and the glasses and the ties and all that stuff for your other professors as you've come through? Oh, Dr. Stedman, they just.
Well, I feel honored. You know, that lets me know that they felt comfortable with us to be able to do these things, Dr. Evans. That's important to us as well, because we wanted it to be that way. Thank you so much. We're honored that you would do that. I did want to say that Libby, thank you for the format for task 6. Many of your classmates followed that same format. I love it. I love that format. And actually, Dr. Revis, I'm going to take that format that Libby shared and what many of them have used. We're going to use that even going back to 601. We're going to do it in the fall. We always had struggled with some of the students making sure that they had done they had emphasized the work that they had done in the course and in their experience, that you don't have a choice but to respond the way Libby formatted that out. And thank you, Libby. That's something I will use right on. Thank you for sharing that. And like I said, most of your classmates use that, and I liked it a lot. So thank you for that. Let's look at the agenda, and this is how tonight is going to look. We are going to go back and we're going to talk about assignment 8. Then we will just look at many of you have already done 9, and we'll talk about 10 in just a moment. And then Dr. Revis is going to go back and just touch base with you on assignment 11 again, because that's the biggie. That's the one I call your final exam. She's already addressed task stream reminders unless there's anything else. You know, she can mention that. These are your drop dead dates. I've put them in there so you'll know. The PSYOP has 4 through 6, and many of you have finished that already, but for those that are still working on them, no later this Thursday, 9 a.m., I need the rest of the PSYOP turned into me. Okay. And like I said, that is most of you are, you're just about at the point to push it to me. So I'm not worried about that. You'll get them to me. All 6 evidences are due. And that's not a problem. There is everybody's good where they need to be with that. Competency analysis, as Dr. Revis has said, easy. Go back and check all 5 semesters and make sure you've got everything done, but that won't take you long to do that. The competency folio is due by the 25th. Dr. Revis is working with you on that. The School of Ed dispositions, go back and check from the beginning on that as well. And then when Dr. Revis gives you permission, then you can turn all of your internship logs in and they can be evaluated as well if, but make sure you've cleared with her. Josh?
I've done all of my stuff in my DR. Like, is there anything we're supposed to do now, like to y'all or the state?
You're the only thing you've got left to do, Josh. I think you and Joshua Justice at this point, the only thing you've got left to do is whatever is left in Blackboard.
Assignment 11.
Assignment 11. And well, you've done assignment 10 already, but assignment
And
11, that's it.
And I did a reflection to Dr. Lamb already.
Yeah, I
That's
saw
on week 2.
you copied me on that, so I saw that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But we don't. Will you talk? Like on your Blackboard, you have the steps from I think it's Miss Wendy, as far as what to do for our license. Will you go over that in our last class since it's the presentation?
Well, what we'll do is you just remind me when we have a town hall next Monday. We won't have class next Tuesday because I'm going to give that time for you to come together with your team and work on assignment 11 next week. So we will meet on Monday with Dr. Lamb at 7 o'clock. And again, even though that you've already gone through the interviewing with him, he'll ask, we're going to coddle Dr. Lamb and we're going to make him happy and we're going to show up and we're going to act like it's the first time
Yes,
that
sir.
we've ever heard his message. But we'll ask him that question on that night so that everybody can get the same answer. I don't think there's anything you've got to do. I think you have to pay for your licensure, but anyway, let's just ask him that question on Monday night and make sure, if I don't remember, Josh, make sure you let me know.
I will. I've looked it up, what to do and everything. It just tells us to not request our transcript until graduation.
Right, and you can't. But there's a process. You will actually be, you will not graduate until December, but you'll be through with the program, and that doesn't mean that you can't get licensed before then. And they take care of all that. The education office will take care of all that. But I don't want to tell you wrong. So
That's fine. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. But we'll make sure on Monday that we cover that. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I want everybody with us, if you can, on Monday night with Dr. Lamb, and that will be basically our class. We're not going to come online Tuesday. We're going to give you that time to work with your team so that you can be prepared for Dr. Revis and me for week 11 with your big assignment. You'll get a link to join that meeting. When Dr. Lamb gets it to me, I'll get it to you, but just make sure you look for that link. And then that's your reflection assignment on Dr. Lamb's presentation. That's week 10. And then the last one will be your week 11 assignment. I think everybody's finished, did their case studies. All the case studies have been done. You did good jobs on the case studies as well. And we don't have time to go over all them, but you did a great job on them. Are there any questions about this right here? Does everybody understand what's due and when it's due and what you got to do? And
I would just like to, go ahead, Dr. Stanley.
I know it seems like you hear me say this over and over again, but I think it's because I don't want anybody to mess up. That's the teacher coming out in me too. We have to repeat things over and over again. So you're my student, so please, just put up with me and let me do it.
Well, if I could just say one thing about that competency folio, if you wait until the 25th, you're not going to get finished. The 25th is when it has to be completed and evaluated. So be sure you're working on it. I would like for you to set yourself a goal to finish it by the 18th.
Right. Like I said, these are the drop dead dates, and if this is the worst case scenario that you will have got on your hands and knees and begged Dr. Revis to please forgive you and everything else if it comes to that point. So, I don't know, when it gets to that point, she becomes Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, and I've seen the other side of her, and you don't want Miss Hyde to come out. So just, no, that's not it at all.
I do want to just mention a little bit about the presentations. We are looking forward. Dr. Stedman, I'm really looking forward to this group. I know it's going to be entertaining, but be sure that each member of your team is equally presenting during your presentations. Don't let one person do it all. We want to see your leadership, and we want to see you presenting and leading your team. So, make them interesting. And, one thing that you would think about when you're starting out, you want to share with the whole group the data sets that you used to determine your greatest needs in whatever area or whatever competency you are addressing. So have fun with it, but make sure that it's put together in a very professional way and that everybody is equally presenting and participating.
And what I want you to do, what Dr. Revis and I want you to do now, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. I don't know if y'all have learned that or not yet, but it's hard for me because I just like to talk, and I like, but anyway, I'm going to try to be quiet, as Dr. Revis leads the presentations on week 11. I'm going to engage in trying to listen and give, I want to give some feedback after each presentation. And then I want you as a group to learn to give some feedback as well. So I want you to do the same thing, but I want you to pretend that Dr. Revis and I are, that you're presenting before the superintendent and his board or his cabinet, his or her cabinet. I want it to be, of something of that caliber, when you present. We're expecting you to pull out your Sunday best, with this. That's what we want. Okay. Before, and we kind of skipped around, but what questions would you have of Dr. Revis and or me at this point about what we are expecting for assignment 11? Any questions? Everybody feel comfortable where you are? Y'all need to talk about it, plan, and again, give it, I want you to give us the wow effect on this. Okay. That's it. Okay, which leads us, we're going to spend, okay, thank you, Libby. We're going to spend the rest of what we're going to be doing today, unless you have other questions, and you can stop us at any time. We can be very informal with this. I want us to talk about the strength-based leadership assignment. And I was very, 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 very pleased with the thought that went into how you responded to I mean, I took them directly from the reading. You saw that, but they were the key things. As I went through, you can see I've marked all in my book. I've got markers everywhere where, because I mean, I've read it over and over and over again because I learned from it every time. But the thing, I went online today, and you can find it too. I went online today there was a short animated video on this, and we don't have time to see it because it was 10 minutes long. But it talked about, the history of this, the reason that it's researched and evidence-based is because it goes back almost 40 years now. This book is, this edition, this was in 2014, I think. But anyway, it's getting close to 40 years that it was a Gallup poll, it was a Gallup study. And they had spent years and years and years, gathering the information that they gathered before they came up with this book, and with the instrument that now is used by Fortune 500 companies everywhere. That instrument is still, even though it's an old instrument, it's still a very reliable and a valid instrument. So what I want to do, Dr. Revis, is I want us to go around. I want everybody to participate in this. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes each, or about a minute and a half each. I want you to talk about what this assignment meant to you, what your biggest takeaway was, what it meant to you, and how you intend to take this and use it as you are moving forward in the next step in your educational journey. I want you to talk about that. Okay, and let's not be shy. Everybody's going to participate. So who'll start?
I'll go first. My girls always tell me I talk too much anyways, Carrie and Stormy, but I'll go. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It gave me a lot of insight on, it kind of confirmed what I already knew, like what I thought I was strong at. And it gave me understanding where I see some things happen and things that I struggle with. It gave me understanding of why those things happen. I don't know if y'all read the reports, but it gives you a blind spot off of what your strengths are. And so when I went back and I read that, it just helped me to understand some things. And then what I reckon what brought to my mind, I talked to my wife about this, is that it told you to be careful of those things. And so now since I've done this, everything I do, I try to think about how I'm handling it so I can avoid those blind spots, which I would think is a way of me focusing on my strengths and making them better. So it's really helped me grow as a person, and even in my personal life as a father, and as a husband, when I talk to my wife and things like that. Try to understand. It's interesting because I bought both books. I bought the little small book and the big book. Mm-hmm. So my wife's going to use the other assessment to do it for her. Now she's an assistant branch manager at the State Employees Credit Union, so it's going to be really beneficial to her, I think. And she's going to read it. She enjoys reading and everything, so we're going to use it. But I have really seen already since doing it the effects it has of me focusing on things and trying to avoid the pitfalls that come along with my strengths. Due to my weaknesses. And so the last thing I would say is that in the book, it didn't talk a whole lot about basically investing in your weaknesses or fixing your weaknesses. But when you go to the resources that they give you, it does tell in there, just because you're focusing on your weaknesses does not mean you can ignore your strengths. does not mean you can ignore your weaknesses. And it gives you resources to, and tells you, some of the reports will tell you some of your weaknesses that you need to focus on to help, bring those up to par, so to speak. But still, I mean, I've really enjoyed it. It's helped me a lot in just my ministry already. We've only had it for like a week or so, but that's because I'm reading the resources every night. That's my nightly reading, is the resources and things like that. I've enjoyed it. It's helped me a lot.
Thanks for sharing that, Josh. This is a book that I feel like that all of you will hopefully refer back to. It'll be one of those books you keep and you can use. And it would be interesting 5 years from now to take that same survey and to see where you are, after you get into your leadership roles and administrative roles. Somebody else. Okay, Nazma?
One of the things that truly resonated with me is the fact that not all leaders are the same, not all approaches are the same, and you cannot apply one leadership philosophy to a different situation and think it's going to work. What works for one place will not work for the other. It brings me back to the Churchill and Gandhi example. So it's like, if my leadership works for this school and I'm very good at it and I'm effective, that does not mean I'm going to be as effective in a different place. And in addition to that, like, it made me feel like it's okay to have weaknesses. As a leader, I don't need to be perfect, but I need to assemble a team that should be all-rounded, not me. The team is the one that should be all-rounded. That truly stood out to me.
Well said. Well said, Nazma. I like that. Anything else, Nazma?
Not that I can think of, but I can probably think of a lot.
That's good. Okay, that was well said, though. Stormy, you said you want to go next.
Yes, sir. I actually kind of took it the direction that Josh did. Even when we met as a group, my top two were positivity and includer. And I just immediately thought about how I get that every single day of my life. Somebody has something to say about that. But once Josh started kind of reflecting on his, I just kept thinking about how could that be a weakness as well. And so ever since then, like Josh said, like during summer school, teaching summer school now, I've been thinking about it. Am I too positive? Am I including too many people? And so it's just really got me thinking a lot. But it was cool to see that they were exactly my top ones were exactly what I thought they would be. But it's definitely making me think. So I appreciated the assignment a lot.
And I like what you said, Stormy, and in your writing, you said that as you were looking at who you are based on the assessment, you said that your name, people called you Sunshine.
Yeah.
And that you were named Stormy, but you really should have probably been Sunshine, I guess. That's it. But anyway, but I like Stormy.
Thank you.
Kendall?
Can you all hear me?
Yes,
My
we
service
can.
is not that good. Okay. One of the things that caught my attention was the very first couple of sentences in the book, and I shared this with my group as well, is that it stated that that one will have many opportunities to lead during their lifetime. So I felt like most of the time we think that leaders are those who become leaders in a realm that's like has an official title, like captain of a team, assistant principal. But when I read that, I thought of the fact that there are also leader titles such as sister, brother, mother, father. So I think that us understanding in our profession that leaders can start at different ages and times in people's lives is very important for us. I tell my son all the time that he's a big brother, so he needs to be a leader. But the book also made me look at the things that he does well and compliment him on that. So it would make him want to be an even more better big brother. So understanding that when you focus on people's strengths, it continues to resonate in them the most, and it pulls the best out of them. Also, the part when the author compares strengths to being like, I felt like that made me relate to it a whole lot more. And just thinking of the fact that a carpenter has multiple tools, just like we have multiple strengths. But if we truly take the time to know our strengths, we can use them at the right time, depending upon the circumstances that we face as a leader, just like the carpenter chooses the right tool to complete the job at hand. So I really like the activity. I really like the fact that we were pushed to read this book. I felt like it was just for me. Like it told us that we need to be our authentic self, and I needed to hear that. My principal says that she says that a lot. Like, I want you to be yourself. That does not mean that I can't alter how I'm passionate about something. I know you all hear me say it a lot, but that's one of the things that I struggle with, and I've made known of that. So I think that's the first step, is knowing you have to also know your strength and your limitations, and that's what makes us an effective leader.
Okay, thank you, Kendall. Well said. You know, and all of you as classroom teachers, and I have done this, Dr. Revis, on purpose before when I was a classroom teacher. And even as a principal, I would find people that would shy away from being the leader in a group or whatever. And when I would establish groups with even as a principal, establish committees and things like that, I would deliberately put 4 people together that would shy away in any group, because guess what? Out of those 4 people, somebody's going to emerge to be the leader. You will find that, you say, well, there's something in everybody. You just have to give them the opportunity many times. And so just always remember that when you look for those people that kind of want to be the fly on the wallflower, and you don't just say it, you just find opportunities to make it happen. And don't always put that shy person with somebody that's going to be take over like me and run their mouth all the time. You need to put them in a group where somebody has to rise to the occasion. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Tracy.
Okay, so I think my biggest takeaway, and it's kind of a little bit of what Kendall said, is the importance of finding your own way to be authentic as a leader. I think when you could admire someone else's leadership style, and I think that can be healthy to admire someone else's style. But if you try and copy them, it's not going to be genuine, and your employees are going to see right through you. And when they do that, they're going to lose any trust they have in you. And I don't think that is going to help you in any way becoming an effective leader. So I think that finding your own authentic self as a leader is what was my biggest takeaway.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Carrie.
So what Nazmal said really was for me too, knowing that there's not just one type of leader. There's all different types of leaders, and my leadership might be different than your leadership, and my leadership might work one way and not the other. And I was telling my group, the reason that really resonated with me is because I've never seen what I imagined a leader to be, and the leaders that I've looked up to, I never saw that in myself. So whenever I did it, when I took the assessment, and 4 out of my 5 were under relationship building. And so when I was reading that, it really, I could, identify with all that it said, but it made me feel good that these are leadership skills that I really wouldn't think a lot would be, because some of those that I saw as my weakness, like with the relationship building, I always want everything. I want everybody to get along. I want to have everybody come together. I like to keep the peace. And sometimes that becomes a weakness for me, because I either try to take over and make it work, and trying to make everybody happy doesn't always work out the right way. So I've learned from that to know, kind of how to work on my weakness through what they gave me as a leadership strength. But it was good to know that there's not just one type. Anybody, you have your own leadership skills.
Good. Thanks, Carrie. Very well said. Melissa?
When Joshua and I got together to talk about it, I had 3 in executing and 2 in strategic thinking. And Joshua and I were kind of laughing at each other because when I told him what my top 5 were, he was like, "Oh yeah, that definitely is you." But then we were talking about how either one of us had anything in influencing in relationship building. And so we talked about how if 5 years or 10 years from now, if it would change and if we would be more well-rounded, something in every category, or if we would stay so polar, just have everything at one end or the other.
Right. You had
Can
a
you hear
bad
me?
connection. Yeah, well, we could. It was you've got a bad connection, but you're right. And again, what I want all of you to realize that where you are now. Now, some of it is who you are, and you'll always be. You know, there's some things that will never change. But as you grow in leadership, as you grow in administration, 5 years from now, you're going to find some of these things will be different, and it will be simply based on your experiences. Experience causes things. Don't you agree, Dr. Revis, on that?
Oh yeah, and just like we as teachers, we try to be reflective practitioners. When you become an administrator, an assistant principal is typically your first job in administration. I encourage you to be very reflective. What could I have done differently in this situation? Whether it's working with a set of angry parents or working with a student who is aggressive or has some discipline issues, or working with a teacher who has an issue and you needed to talk with them about it and develop some kind of growth plan. You always need to be reflective. Every experience needs to be a learning experience. That's how you build your experiences. That's how you build your toolkit. So always be reflective.
I agree. Very well said. Somebody who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
The reading and the assessment, I thought they were both very beneficial. One of the things that I know I tend to do is I highlight my weaknesses over my strengths, and that affects my level of confidence as a leader. And so one of the things that I know that I have to work on, and even with the assessment, there were several areas where I thought to myself, no, that doesn't fit me, but I realized it was speaking to my potential. And just learning how to not second guess myself and just to be confident so that my followers, I think good leaders, effective leaders, they point out strengths in followers according to the text. And if I don't possess it, it's going to be difficult to sell that to somebody else. And so that is something that I took away from the reading and the assessment, the importance of knowing my strengths so that I can operate in confidence in meetings. And if I have to have discussion, I'll be prepared for it.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Somebody else.
I was going to pretty much say like what Rachel said, having confidence in my strengths. You know what you can do, but sometimes you do second guess yourself. You do think your leadership style may not be the right style for the moment, but just having confidence in that I have been put in a position to show my skills, and my skill set is this. I told my group, I'm a big sports guy, so I use sports analogies all the time. I want my team to lean on strengths. I want them to always be able to be confident in what they can do well, because that's not only going to make me do good, that's going to make the whole team do well. And that's the goal as a leader. The goal is not about yourself. It's about how can I lead my entire team. And for me, that will be focusing on the strengths that I have gained.
And thank you for that, Brandon. You sent I read that. I was reading all of your work before we started class tonight. because of when you sent it in, and I like the way you talked about how you work with your athletes, and that is, I mean, there's a lot of comparisons there. As you lead a team, there's a lot of things. A team is a team, and so a lot of what you do in athletics, or Josh Justice working with the teams that you work with for state competitions, and I'm just looking at all of that. There are a lot of similarities that's tied into that, working with your students, a lot of similarities as you move into working with adults. Thanks, Brandon.
And Dr. Salmon, if I could just butt in my 2 cents. A lot of you are making comments about having confidence in yourself as a leader. And first of all, having confidence doesn't mean you know everything.
Right.
And having confidence doesn't mean that you're never going to make a mistake.
Right.
When you become a school leader, whether that be an assistant principal or principal, you're going to be called on to make decisions every day, multiple times during the day. Some decisions, you may have time to gather a team and get feedback. Some you won't. But if you don't make a decision and you sit on it and don't ever make a decision, that's a decision you've consciously made. You will make mistakes. I promise you, you will make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But what you do after you realize you make a mistake is the big thing. There is nothing wrong with saying to your staff, I made a mistake. I messed up. I learned new information. Let's back up and punt. You would be surprised at how much they will admire you when you can admit that you've made a mistake. But as the superintendent told me one time, and he shared this with all of his leadership team, when you make a mistake, eat crow while it's young and tender. Do it quickly. Don't let it fester. Admit it, back up and punt, and move on. But if you never make a decision, you're never going to make a mistake, right? But I promise you, you will make some mistakes. Don't ever make the same mistake twice. That's that reflective practitioner again. But, don't be afraid to make a decision because you're afraid you're going to make a mistake. You can't.
Right. And again, and I'll use my personal life as an example. Raising my son, he's my only child. So raising him, I didn't have anything to base it on because I'd never raised a child before. So, when, as he grew into, especially the teenage years, and I didn't like some of the stuff going on during his teenage years, I probably was too hard so I have had to tell him before, son, I should have done that differently. Please forgive me. I was learning to be a dad. You're learning to be a principal. So it's okay to, like Dr. Reva said, to say, I'm learning, help me, and embrace people. But don't have to do it too often though. Don't do it too much. Okay, who's next? Okay, Libby.
Okay, I'll just share my results. I scored achiever, individualization, futuristic, learner, and ideation. And I wasn't surprised by these at all. When I was reading the descriptors, I thought this is so me. I find enjoyment in taking on big projects, and the futuristic thing kind of lends itself to that because I like to think of projects to do. I like to think about how to make things better, and then that lends itself to learner, because if you want to create change, you have to know how to do it. So that means you have to learn how to do something. And my writing, I actually, I likened it to, the learning aspect of this was If I was going on vacation to Malta, I would want to learn everything about Malta. So whenever I would go to Malta, I would appreciate the culture and the history even more. So like, not just in work, am I a learner, but like in my life too. And individualization I thought was really cool because I love to work with people. I enjoy getting to know everybody, and I love to understand people. And I think that's, a really understanding people and their strengths and their weaknesses and what makes them tick, and their life experiences and where they came from, is all about building a team, and that helps you create trust. One thing that got me was I didn't score anything in influencing, which I thought to myself, does that mean that is my, whatever what Josh Rodriguez said, is that my blind spot? Or is that just the day that I took the test that I didn't answer in that theme? Because I feel like leaders are influencers anyways, right? So for the other part of the reflection, we had to answer this question about staying true to yourself as a leader. And my team, I said to them, I'm like, I don't really know how to answer this question because I don't really know. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know, how can you stay true to yourself as a leader when, you're in a world where everyone's trying to get you to do the newest thing as a leader? So how do you stay true to your core and listen to your strengths, even though the outside factors are telling you you need to do this, this, and this? So how do you, I was like, I don't know how to answer this question because I don't know how to do it.
And I understand that, Libby, and I can tell you over the years, there's things that I have had to do as a leader because it was politically correct, not because it was what I thought was the best thing, or and I would never allow something to I would never make a decision or do something. Somebody wouldn't cause me to cross the line because it was morally or ethically not right. I'm not going to do that. But there are other things that you will have to do as leaders that you'll say, well, I don't really agree with that, but nobody can know that but you. Because so you don't change who you are. You do what you have to do because it's politically correct. And it's aligned with the powers that be, that you cannot always, you got to know when, like Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to hold up and when to fold up. So you've got to know those things. And sometimes you'll be nodding like we're doing now, but behind that nod and behind that smile, you'll say, I don't agree with this, but they won't ever know that. So that is where you're being true to yourself. Inside, and given the opportunity again, you would not continue doing what you're doing. You would go back to who you really are and what you truly value and what you believe in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get that. That makes, that was really great advice. That's good.
Thank you. Sometimes it comes from above, so I'm thankful for it. Okay, next.
I'll go next. After looking at the strengths based leadership text, the class itself has made me feel kind of overwhelmed. From 601 to 605, it's like so many leadership characteristics, and going into leadership, it almost kind of gives me anxiety. Should I be this perfect person? How do I possess all of these qualities? And so after reading the text, it made me feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay, it's all right that I don't possess every strength as a leader. One of my higher areas was executive, and I kind of laughed about it because I thought about while in the class, I was emailing Dr. Reeves back and forth about my CAP, and I just kept at it. And after thinking about it, I'm like, that is me. I never give up. I'm always going to finish, no matter how many times I have to do it, I'm going to get it right. And it's perfectly fine that I might not be a high achiever. I'm okay with that, but I'm not going to give up neither. And so it really made me, you know, after reading the book, look at me, at my leadership qualities as a whole, and be okay with my weaknesses. And then, you know, in the text, it pointed out the 4 leaders. I think it was a CEO, a vice president, and the Ritz-Carlton one really stuck out to me. He was very strategic. The Ritz-Carlton has always been a dominant brand, but he knew that he could do something to make it have even more value. And the fact that he took it on and, you know, turned it into where they can kind of make it as like a timeshare, it was like, okay, wow, he took his strength, which he didn't have every quality, you know, that a leader might have, but the one that he was really good in, he took it and he became really successful in that. So it kind of made me more comfortable to say, okay, I don't know how to do everything, but guess what? I can be really good at what I do know how to do.
Very well said, Kimberlyn. And you know what? Once you get started, you're powerful. You just don't realize it. It's in you. And one of the things too, you've got to realize, how long have you been in education, Kimberlyn?
I've been in education for 5 years.
So see, you're growing still. You're young, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm saying that to say this: where you are and how you think is not going to be the same as somebody that's been there for 15 years and has had the opportunity to have all these other experiences. You will grow into that. So the anxieties that you're feeling and those things, that would be normal for somebody that's been in education 5 years and taking the challenge of this program. Wouldn't you say so, Dr. Revis?
Yes, exactly. Because you know, the more you're in education, number one, the more leaders you're going to experience and get to know and understand their leadership style. And I was at several schools while I was working in the public schools. I went to several schools and I always tried to take and learn from every leader, whether it was learning the good qualities or learning things, oh, I would never do that. So you've done outstanding and you are tenacious. Way to keep plugging along, Kimberlyn.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, I think I've got Jasmine and Josh. Okay,
I'll go.
Go ahead. Okay.
So Melissa and I, when we did ours, it was really kind of comical how similar she and I had. Our results were very close. But one of the things that I took away from it was the fact that, yeah, I may be strong in these 2 categories, that it teaches me how to work with other leaders, like understanding their strengths, understanding how they react to things, understanding how they lead people, and using their strengths with mine can move something forward. But like sometimes I may view something as being a weakness, but after reading the book, I was like, okay, that's not a weakness. It's just not my leadership style. This is someone else's leadership style. So I can take their strengths and what they really excel at and take what I really excel at and make something even better. So that was my biggest takeaway, was learning other people's leadership styles and what they focus on. Yeah, it may be different, but also having that communication. This is how I do things. This is how you do things. You know, I think it will help build a tighter team because there's an understanding of how we work, how our leadership styles, and it will kind of alleviate any kind of problems that you might have because there's a lack of communication or a lack of understanding between the leadership styles.
I agree. Josh, very well said. And what you'll find is, all of those leadership styles, you're going to have your dominant leadership style, but you're going to find yourself having to take that leadership style hat off and put the other one on based on the circumstances You know, every day, your dominant leadership style will be, as I said, dominant throughout the day. But based on circumstances, you're going to venture into another leadership style because of this circumstance or this situation, and but you'll always come back to your dominant leadership style. So, okay, Jasmine.
All right. You and Dr. Rebus were talking about me earlier as that person that's the fly on the wall and doesn't want to say anything. That's me.
I know that about you, but you know, you're going to say something so profound at the end. We know that.
So 3 of my 5 were in relationships, and I think that's because I am the wallflower. I am the one that's sitting on the side, and I see how everybody communicates with each other. I see who gets along, who doesn't get along. I just observe all the things, and my highest level was connectedness, because I just have a scientific mind and everything really is connected. There's nothing in this universe that's not connected in some kind of way. And that's kind of how I see the human race. Like, we're all connected and we all have some way that we can relate to each other. So if you just sit back and observe some people and don't make judgments, just see who they are as a person, then you can help to develop those people or relate to them, which were my other 2 areas in relationships. Outside of relationships, I had responsibility and analytical. With responsibility, I just had, things have to be done right. And if it takes me a little bit longer to get it done, then it takes me a little bit longer, but I guarantee it's going to be done right, because I'm going to take the time to make sure that I put the time and effort that every task deserves, because anything that's associated with my name, I want it to be done correctly, because that's just how I am as a person. Which leads to the analytical part, because I overthink sometimes, but I know that about myself and I try not to overthink. But sometimes that thought process is necessary in order to see how things connect and then how they will affect other decisions in the long run, or how they will affect the grand scheme of how the school will run, or how that task, that event, whatever it is I'm working on. There's always, goes back to it again, it's all connected. So time, effort, put it all together, and you'll have a great product and something you can be proud to put your name on.
I told you would say something very profound. Good job. Good job. All of you have done an excellent job with this. And I think that you remember at the beginning of the semester, Dr. Revis and I shared with you that the majority of what you did this semester would allow you to self-reflect. And I think you have seen in just about every major assignment how it's caused you to have to look more analytically at yourself and evaluate who you are and where you are. And it goes back to, remember, know thyself. You have to know yourself. And so it all ties back to that. Well done. Well done. I'm very, very pleased with everybody. Great job. Thank you for really pouring your hearts and souls into this assignment and doing what you needed to do with it. I appreciate that. Anything in closing? I don't want to belabor the time, but we're on time based on what we had said we would do. Anything in closing that you would like to say at this point? Any questions of Dr. Revis and me before we close out? But just a reminder, use your time wisely. Go ahead and begin working with your team on the assignment for week 11. Remember, that week we will come on at 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, because we want to make sure that we've got plenty of time. And then at the conclusion, we will bring closure to the assignment. And before we close out, we ask for information from all of you, and thank you for everybody getting that information to Dr. Stone. Have a little surprise that I'd like to share, Dr. Revis and I would like to share at the end. And so I would say around just those of you that have family members or significant others, you can ask them to join at the very end, and they can be a part of what we have to say and what we do at the very end of the class on week 11. Okay. In the meantime, we won't be coming on next Monday, the town hall. We won't be coming on Tuesday because that's your time. However, if you need Dr. Revis and me for anything, you do not procrastinate. You do not say, I don't want to bother them. Bother us. Okay. Bother us and let us help you finish where, you're just about there. Great job.
And remember, friends, competency folio.
Okay. Good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Great job.
Good night.
Okay, Kendall, go ahead.
Yes, I just have a question.
Okay.
As far as task 4, I'm a little stuck, just a little bit. When it talks about going back and getting the action plans and goal plans from previous tasks, is it task 5 when we actually combine those into one organizer? Or because I know for task 4, what I was thinking was that I could take each one of them and talk about them separately, and then in task 5 combine them. Would that be correct or no?
Okay, it says task 4, you will develop a document that specifies availability of resources, human and physical. You're going back, okay, you're thinking about, now this is what you've gone back and you've looked at what it is that you want to recommend as a part of your overall plan, which that you're going to show that in task 5, okay? But you got, okay, who are you going to need to get the job done? And
okay,
what kind of money, what kind of resources are you going to need to be able to get the job done? Now, some of the people are already built in there, and if you go back to those plans, because it said to go back to remember, it said that you could go back to evidence 1, the APSL, the growth plan, the APTEL. You've done those plans in there, and in all of those plans, remember it has person responsible, resources needed. You're pulling from those. So you're going back and you're extracting information. You're talking about, as you're leading to the action plan in task 5, you're preparing the way for task 5. And so you're going to be able to get the job done, I'm going to need these people. I'm going to need these resources. I'm going to need this money. Where's this money going to come from? If it's Title I monies, that's already there, and if it's not there and you need it, you're going to recommend to your administration, pending, in the budget, is this something that could be considered? Because the team and I have decided that we feel like that this is a great resource that we need. You can't just go out and, if it's a program that needs another body, another person, are there some Title I monies there that can help put employ a person, to be able to do that? So you're looking everything, you can pull all of those plans together, but then I want you to go in there and extract what you need from it based on who and what. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it makes more sense now. So as far as the headings, am I just using the headings from that? Like if I say APSL action plan and then talk about the resources needed.
Right. And again, you can be creative with what you do there. And what I would do, Kendall, I would extract from all of that, and you've already got the work that you've already done. I would extract from all that, and I would create a new one after I've explained all that. And this is what you're going to use when you go to task 5. These are the resources you're going to embed. You're going to show it in task 4, but you're going to pull it and use it in task 5 when you put all of it together in that big plan.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a tough person that I have to talk it out to make it
That's okay.
to make sure I understand it for myself.
That's
So
okay.
basically, task 5 is going to pretty much show the actual organizer, but task 4 is going to talk about the resources that's needed for the action plan and growth plan that is shown in task 5.
And you may have some repeat information in task 4 that you will pull into task 5, and that's okay. There may
Okay.
be some information that you pull because you may have a graphic organizer in task 4, but remember that if you create a one in task 4, it's only going to show the resources, human and fiscal, that you need. But when you go to task 5 is going to include everything, including.
Okay. Makes more sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I got it.
Task 4 is a puzzle piece that will go into the big puzzle in task 5.
Okay.
If you don't
right.
put that piece of puzzle in there, the puzzle's not complete. Does that make sense? If you don't put
Okay.
task 4
Yes.
to task 5, then that means you've lost a piece of the puzzle somewhere. So
Okay. So then would a good introduction paragraph just be to explain the needs, human and physical resources? Because that's how I kind of started it.
yeah, you start
With,
out that way, and
data, research.
and then pull just copy and paste the information that we've said in there to, where are you getting it from? And then I would, if it were me, after I copied and pasted, I would extract from those different plans. After I got through, my culminating thing would be that pulling from those plans, I would have my little narrative work, and these are the human and fiscal resources that will be needed to be able to move forward and implement and execute the plan that you're going to be proposing in task 5.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you so much. It is so much clearer now.
Okay, good. And if you get to a stumbling point, let me know. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Okay. Don't overthink
Yeah, I
it.
think that's what I'm doing, but I'm gonna work real hard tomorrow.
Okay, you're on the right track though. Okay, good job. Thanks,
Okay,
Kendall.
thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.